Thank you, Anil, and good evening. Thank you all for coming. As you can see, unfortunately, I was deemed too ugly to appear on those adverts. So that's why we had to get Anil, who's a much better looking version of me, and Jaina, who's just much better looking, to do those adverts. As Anil explained, though, I am the ex-head of Asia. When I stepped up 15, 16 months ago to run the CFA globally, we then held a search to find a new head of Asia, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome him here today. Nick, if you wouldn't mind standing up. Mr. Nick Pollard, who's based out of our Hong Kong office, who now takes responsibility for all of the Institute's activities in Asia. And as you can see, he's a younger, better-looking version of myself. So doubtless he will be appearing on billboards near you in due course. Just to say a few things about the Institute's strategy, for those of you who have had the misfortune to hear me before, I'll say it again. Since taking over as the CEO of the CFA Institute, I've been very careful not to change anything. I mean, that's my one contribution to the Institute is to do nothing, basically, and I think I've achieved that. So no change of name, no change of logo, and no change of the mission. All of those things remain absolutely intact. So our mission, for those of you who haven't read it recently, is to lead the investment profession through education and ethics for the ultimate benefit of society. So what have I done? What I've tried to do is to take that mission and to say, well, how do we really turn that into a strategy? And what I've really sort of focused in on is to say, well, we really don't have an investment profession today. We have a collection here in India of 1,300 investment professionals, but we represent only a very, very small fraction of the fiduciaries in operation in India today. Now, if you were in the medical profession and only 10% of doctors in India held a medical certificate or a medical degree, you'd be horrified. But that's the case in our so-called profession today. So we really can't call ourselves a profession. So when I think about that mission, really what my strategy has to be, what the Institute's strategy has to be, is how do we build that profession and how do we lead that profession? And I think it's also useful to reflect on, well, why is that important? Why do we need a profession? And I think a moment's reflection sort of answers that question. We're in the business of looking after other people's money. And if we cannot be trusted by our clients, then we have no sustainable future. This is particularly true in an industry where there is such asymmetry of information, where we are professionals, where we know how these complicated markets work, and where our clients are much more disadvantaged than we are in terms of that knowledge. So you need a profession because you have to build trust. And that's a question really of enlightened self-interest. If we cannot build that trust through professionalism with our clients, then we're doomed to failure, basically. So I take that professional responsibility very seriously, and we have constructed a very, very simple three-part strategy to try to deliver on that mission. The first is easy. We need to generate more and more qualified professionals through the CFA program, which we believe is the standard, not the gold standard. It is the standard that anybody running other people's money should aspire to. Thank you, Jayesh. And 100% of everybody out there should have this qualification. In the same way that 100% of doctors or lawyers or accountants or other people who we're fond of thinking of as being professionals should have their designation, investment professionals should have theirs. Sonia mentioned scholarships earlier on, and the Indian Association of Investment Professionals have worked incredibly hard to get those 250 scholarships out there into the marketplace here in India. I'm delighted to announce that next year that number will be even higher, and specifically we're going to add to that number a pool of scholarships for women only. Thank you. You know, here in India, we only have 10% of our charter holders are women. We passionately believe at the Institute, not in social fairness, although I would hope that we would believe that as well, but what we believe in the Institute is that diverse investment management teams make better investment management decisions. And it's absolutely vital to get that diversity into our industry if we're to improve the quality of decision making that our industry makes. 10% here in India sounds a very low number, but what is more shocking, perhaps, is that in the United States of America, only 17% of our members are women. So you're actually not that far behind in India. In many ways, I am more shocked by the number in the United States than I am by the number here in India. In China, it's 51%. Okay? So that's the standard. That's the standard we need to set ourselves. That's where we need to get to. So the Institute has launched something called Women in Investment Management, a big initiative on our part. And one of the elements behind that, quite apart from trying to appeal to young women at university to come into this great profession, is also to provide women-only scholarships that we very much hope the Indian Association will promote here in India. So that's stage one of the strategy. Let's get more young people qualified for this great profession. Stage two is working with regulators. That's very simple. Let's build a market that has integrity, that serves investors, as well as it serves ourselves as practitioners. So that's a lot of the advocacy work that Vidhu spoke about and that Sonia spoke about not so long ago. How do we work with regulators here in India to build a market that really helps the industry to thrive? And for me, that's absolutely of crucial importance here in India. We have those 18,000 students coming through our pipeline, but is our industry creating the jobs for those people that we need to absorb all of that fresh young talent? And the answer to that is no, it's not. And so we need to work with regulators to put the infrastructure into place that will enable the Indian employment situation to improve for our smart young people. It's one of the most depressing parts of my job when I talk to candidates in India, to hear them say, when I ask them, you know, why are you getting the charter? And they say to me, you know, very honestly, which is charming but depressing, they say, because I want to go and work in America. You know, and that's really, for me, that is the most depressing part of my job. We should be creating Indian investment professionals to work in India, and we have to work harder with regulators to develop an industry that can absorb all that fresh young talent going forward. The third, and by far the most key piece of our strategy, is to work on what I call member value, delivering value to you. And that's something that Vidhu spoke about, Anil spoke about, Sonia spoke about. How do we really deliver value to you? You pay me at the Institute $275 US a year. You pay the local Association of Indian Professionals $50 a year. You know, what value am I giving you to make you want to keep paying that? So that's an absolutely crucial part of how we're looking to retool the Institute going forward, to provide goods and services to you that have a lot more value to you as you do your jobs. Why is that important? Because I want you to be recognized as the leading investment professionals here in India. I want you to be the coolest kids on the block, the kids that other investment professionals want to go play with. You know, that's what we have to be. We have to be the people who everybody else, the club that everybody else wants to join. And to be able to do that, we have to make you the best investment professionals that you can be. we also have to work with the businesses that employ you to make them the best businesses that they can be, that they too are advocates of high standards, that they too want to employ charter holders because they realize that that gives them an edge in the businesses that they operate. So that's the third part of this strategy. And one of the challenges behind that is the value that we give you in terms of the events that we hold and the publications that we have. But the second piece of that value proposition is price. And I'm very conscious that here in India, price is a differentiator, that it is not fair that Indians have to pay the same price for their institute membership that people in North America or in the UK have to pay. So I'm delighted to announce that from this year, this renewal season coming up, that we are going to reduce the institute dues of $275 a year to $100 a year. I thought that might get some applause. It's you know, something that I'm absolutely delighted to do. For the 3 years that I've been associated with the Institute, it has been something that your local association, through Sunil, through Jayesh, through other leaders that you have here in India, have lobbied me very, very hard to recognize that $275 in a local context is just way too much. As Sonia pointed out, we have 3,000 charter pendings here in India. 3,000 young Indians who have passed level 3 but haven't yet got their charter. Half of those have had well over 4 years with that level 3 pass. So most of those people almost certainly have the right amount of experience. They just haven't converted to a charter. We need to get those young people through the system and to join us as professionals if we're really to build this industry. Secondly, we lose 20% of our charter holders every year. Those growth rates that Sonia showed are after lapsed members. That is incredibly wasteful. You know, a huge number of lapsed members every year, and we must have well over 1,000 lapsed members in India today. We're 1,300 members. We should be 4,000 to 5,000 members here in India. The largest society that we have in the world is about 11,000 members. So India's target should be to take its place amongst the very largest CFA societies worldwide, and I hope this adjustment of the fee rate will help us grow. And one of the things I am wanting to do in my term of office is to say that this is not just my responsibility, this is our responsibility. And I want to put that charge upon all of you here today. This reduction to $100 does not come for free. It comes with my charge to you to do something about this, to do something about people you know who have lapsed their charter, people you know who have not converted to a CFA from being a chartered pending. It involves you talking to your companies about their HR policies. It involves you talking to your companies about whether they have adopted the Asset Manager Code of Conduct, for instance. It involves you taking some personal responsibility for helping us build this industry here in India. And the one thing you can very definitely do is renew your society membership, an absolute steal at $50 a year, volunteer for the IAIP, contribute through your time and through your efforts to help us build this wonderful profession and our wonderful institute to be where we want it to be, which is right at the top of the investment ladder. Thank you very much and enjoy your evening.
A lot of comments going around for Jaina and myself.